Hello everyone, welcome back to another painting video. Today we're going to be tackling some more Trench Crusade models. We're going to start off with this Prator model from the Court of the Seven Headed Serpent. Very cool model. This comes from a customer's order. I was basically given free reign to paint, paint the box art, if you will, and the art from the designers, but the customer did ask for me to do not as much gore on the model. So today we're going to be using oils to really help us get that effect, but also get it to a level where we're not too crazy on the gore, but we're going to hit the sweet spot. First, like all models, we start with a zenithal primed model. Again, we're not using contrast paints today, but this is just for my own eyes to see where the shadows and the highlights should be. Next, we're going to base coat all the skin in Vallejo Dark Rose. Great skin color. This is my favorite skin progression for this type of skin, I guess this shade of skin. It's a great color, great coverage. The next color we're going to move to is Brown Rose from Vallejo. We're just going to hit the highlight spots here, pretty broad. You can keep it to a zenithal, but we can also be more intentional with shooting towards the middle of panels for highlight colors. Next, we're going to set our shadows and some more quote-unquote gore effects with a mix of purple and magenta inks. I'm going to shoot these from below, but I'm not doing a true shadow shot with these. I'm mainly aiming to the bottom of the model to where a lot of these kind of fleshy parts are that we see here, the cords, or if you want to call them entrails, whatever you want to call them. And we're just going to start highlighting these areas as a first pass. Next, I use a little bit of watered down Slaughter Red, which is a speed paint, a great paint. It's a red-purple mix. And I'm going to really reinforce some of the areas of the model that I'm going to be doing a certain type of gore with. As you can see, it's really just shading and staining, if you will. And contrast speed paint, express paint through the airbrush is a great tool to have, especially for stuff like this on bigger models. Next, we're going to use contrast paint Plague Bearer Flesh. It's a greenish, gross color. I'm just going to hit the model in some random spots to show some discoloration of skin and flesh. I think it's a great color. Again, we're just tinting what we have already. Now we're off the airbrush onto the regular brush. We're just going to fill in all the metallics here with Vallejo metal color, gunmetal gray. This is a great color. I'm looking for a dark metal here, definitely chaosy, demony, kind of just a very dark, not that shiny, but we're going to bring it up later after our wash step. But I'm just going to cover all the metallics in this color. Next here, I'm just going to be using some contrast Black Legion, if I didn't show it, to just hit the black area. So I'm doing the hair, the hoofs, and one or two other pieces of the model that I'm just kind of filling in the filigree, if you will. The next color we're going to use is Dark Ivory from Procryl. This is a good color I use for a lot of base coating my bone. What we're going to do is hit all the teeth and the skulls. There aren't a ton of spots on this model, but we're just going to coat these and base coat these in this color. Next, we're over onto the oil palette here. My first thing I'm going to do is use my a classic kind of grim black brown, just to hit all the metallics and not basically nothing that's the flesh. Don't touch the flesh. We're going to do a few things with the flesh here, but I'm going to cover the model in this unifying black brown wash, mainly metallics, bones, stone, those parts of the model. After this wash, I'm going to lay down a unifying flesh wash of dark purple. This is a thin wash, and it's going to be unifying. We're going to do a lot of stuff on top of this. So when you're done with this step, we need to let this model dry. If you're using Gamsol, you can usually come at it with a hair dryer on like medium temperature. Should dry relatively quickly. A fan is another good thing. You just want airflow over the model to evaporate the solvents. If you're using hardware store solvent, mineral spirits, it might take a little longer. Actually, it probably will. Sometimes it takes me like a day or two for it to dry. It just depends on your mix and the exact solvent you're using. But we definitely want this thing to be perfectly dry before we go on to the next steps. The next wash we're going to use is a dark red wash. Here I'm going to focus on the bottom of the wings and certain parts of the legs that I'm going to be changing the gore color with. When you're putting this wash on, you might not be able to tell automatically what's happening, but when it dries, the tinting effect and the recess effect will add this gore effect that is really good. Quick tip with this specific model, I am not going to wick any of this oil away. I'm actually going to let it pool in the model, which is something you usually don't do. But for the gore effect that I'm doing on this model, I'm not drying it. I'm going to let it dry just the way it is with the paint on there. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm taking my brush and I'm just kind of pulling some of the oil off of the model. If there's a little bit of pooling, it's okay. But if it's like dripping with oil, I'll try to clean a little bit of it up. But I don't want to do my normal wipe down with a makeup brush. After the model fully dries, I'm going to coat the model in a matte medium varnish. Next, with the brush, I'm going to pick out flesh details with Brown Rose from Vallejo again. I'm really just trying to hit the big parts here. You'll see me work around the model. The obvious parts of this model are easy to see where I'm going to want this flesh tone. Next, I'm going to start to stipple some lead belcher onto my metallic parts. I'm just looking to give them a little bit of a shine here. Again, I want this metal to look dull and black and demonic, so I'm not really going too crazy on the highlights. Next, we're going to start working on our OSL part. So I'm base coating the flame in white, bold titanium white from AK. Next, with the airbrush, I'm using white ink to set a small halo around the flame source, but also hit some of the other parts of the model. I'm not going crazy with the bounce light and reflections here, but I'm keeping it to one main point on the shoulder. Next, we're going to base coat the flame and the bounce light reflection with fluorescent orange ink. You can do a little overspray here, it's fine. Since it's the fluorescent translucent, you shouldn't really have too many problems with it. Next, I'm going to come in with translucent red ink to hit the tops of the flames and to start the cooling effect. Now that those two transparent inks are down, I'm going to reset the source light of the flame with white paint, which will be the yellow. And now that it's dry, I'm going to come in with a mix of yellow and orange fluorescent paint and color in the source of the lighting. Here as well, I'll also start to blend some more. I'll start to blend more and more orange into the mix to kill the fluorescent. And that's it. Pretty great looking model. Again, I didn't want to go too crazy with the gore because that's the customer didn't really want me to do that. So, but I think we got a good mix of gore. And good thing about this specific model is even if you're not that into gore and you look at this model, your eyes could be pulled to the gore, but we have this great OSL effect with the flame going on, which your brain might just, it might just shoot to that OSL effect. Like, that looks really cool. And you're not even thinking about the gore on the bottom of the wings or in the middle of the model. I think that helps this model a lot, but it's a fantastic sculpt. It's a really cool model. It's a lot of fun to paint. And I hope you try it out if you get the chance. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, and share. I have a whole series of this warband and other warbands coming out, so we'll be doing more models from this set. Thanks. I'll see you then.